totally unprompted, I'm supposed to start by asking you about Altered Carbon, bro. So, um, congratulations on jumping into that project. What's it been like? Are you a sci-fi head? Because I am, and you do an awful lot of sci-fi stuff. So,
I love sci-fi stuff, but I'm not a really big sci-fi person. Like I grew up on Star Wars and all that stuff. So if you consider that sci-fi, but for the most part, sci freaks me out. So I never really got into it. So anything futuristic, and like when I was in high school, there was this movie came out called Starship Troop,
yes,
and
familiar.
yes, wall is had huge like cockroaches. So Starship Troopers freaked me out for like the majority of my life. Every time it just I can't do it, man. My imagination is vivid. But Alta Carbon was great. I mean, the cast and the crew and Netflix and Skydance, everybody really kind of loved that show and gave us everything we needed to succeed. Being in Vancouver for the first time was challenging to say the least. But the show, the experience was great. We have in common Renee, who's
Renee,
yes, our
Renee Lee Skolsberg. I just talked to her yesterday.
she's a talker. She will find you.
Oh man, and loud. You always know when she's in the building.
But she, it was just a great cast of people. It was a lot of fun. I had never done anything really that big before. Like even if you look at the Avengers movies, I've never been the lead of one. I had to do that much action or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it became a definite hustle, a definite painstaking weekly massage hustle to finish that show.
I was about to say, like, I'm having a similar experience just in general, like with the TV grind. I've never been like a lead of a TV show before in general, which comes with its certain set of like exhaustion and responsibility that I didn't really know, you know what I'm saying, was part of the thing. All of this, you got to sort of be responsible for the mood of the set, kind of, because you're the one who's there all the time. It's like it actually is like there's some heavy lifting emotionally to be smiling that much, especially in Vancouver.
You seeing this?
It was noontide of summer and midtime of night, and the stars in their orbits shone pale through the night.
So let me ask you this with Snowpiercer, because another connection we have. Like I remember when Devin went to shoot that movie. So
Oh yeah.
when it came out, that I would. So are you the little black kid from the end of the movie?
That's an interesting take on it. It would require some real sci-fi logic because I think this series takes place way earlier in time than the movie does. Actually, if we consider them the same timeline, you see my sci-fi brain
Right.
going in right now. But
So you have the main dude, Wellington or whatever, right?
yeah.
So he's supposed to. And who's
Well,
the main dude? Wilford. Yes.
Yeah.
So in the movie, you have Wilford, and you see him on the train, like all of his really weird, just the way he possesses these people in this domain on this train, right? But in the show, he's always referenced, but Jennifer Connelly and her character is Wilford, but then she has a different name. So I have a feeling that the show is a timeline within the movie.
They definitely borrow elements from each other, and the idea of Wilford, there's some like season 2 stuff I think I'm not allowed to talk about, but there's even though we're done shooting it, which is that's a weird position to be in, but so I gotta remember what's fair game. But I think, but yeah, so there is some trade off, and Wilford as an idea certainly exists. But then we find out that Melanie is Wilford, at least on this train. You know, there's a I guess the writer of the original graphic novel at one point was asked about if there were other Snowpiercers. And he was like, said something to the effect of there are as many Snowpiercers as futures we can imagine, or whatever. Like, so it's kind of, he kind of opened up the floodgates to allowing for a lot of different adaptations of this idea of a linear class structure on a train.
All right, two things first. I don't give a shit who you are. And somebody up here's got a thing for chopping off third-class dicks.
Now look.
Yeah, I'm looking.
It's fun to now that it's out to sort of see how it is in conversation with like other fans of the various different adaptations of it and stuff. I don't know. Have you tapped into like the Comic-Con circuit? I mean, the fandoms of, because you're an Avenger, so yeah, like that's a deep. I don't know, man. Are you involved in that fandom at all? Because people be going in.
No, I actually I loved for all of this COVID Corona stuff. I love doing the Comic Cons because the
Yeah.
great thing about it, I'm a big fan of a controlled environment.
Hmm.
Like I don't want to deal with people on the street. I don't want to deal with people in restaurants. I don't want to deal. I don't want anything to happen that you can say something weird happened. At a
Right.
controlled environment, everybody's there watching. I have pictures of where my hands are, and you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
in this day and age, you can literally tap somebody on the shoulder and get in a lot of trouble. So
that's
I'm a
real.
big fan of the Comic Con environment. So I would do maybe three or four of them a year, and just space them out throughout the course of the year whenever I had time. But it was always fun. I mean, as an actor, and as an actor, you do so much stuff, and it you don't really know if people see it or appreciate it or enjoy it or take it the way you want the world to ingest it. And when you go to these Comic Cons, these people like adore you. You know,
Yeah,
and it's not so much a personal thing. It's not so much that they adore you as Anthony. They adore your work. They adore this
yeah.
character that you've created. The same thing with Hamilton. I'm sure when when you guys were doing Hamilton, you felt like Mick Jagger every time you walked out the stage door.
It was really intense. It was, and you know because you come from the theater too. Like that's not how it's supposed to be when you do a play, right? I mean, like people are generally very appreciative, but it's not like that. That's a different. And I don't know. I've never done a musical before either, so there's also
Right.
like sort of a different way that people react to a Broadway musical that is similar to like the sort of sci-fi fantasy like Comic-Con fandom, where one of the things I kind of appreciate about these specific sort of fandom worlds is how much the the art that you consume is part of your identity, right? There's like an identity politics at play with it that I find really
Right.
interesting, because mostly because it's just allowed to be like celebrated openly in those spaces, which is really wonderful. And you end up with this wild mix of people who tend to be weirdos in regular space, or like have to sort of shut parts of themselves off outside of these worlds. But you come to Hamilton, you get to dress up like Angelica Schuyler, or you come to a Comic Con,
Right.
you get to dress up like Falcon. Like you do these things that are extensions of your own identity. Where like we all actually, I don't know, like my identity is totally made up of the rappers I listen to and stuff, but I don't like go outside dressing like Tupac. Like I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So like there are these
But
safe
a lot of
spaces.
people do. Though. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
So how is
There
that?
are these,
for you, it must be crazy because I would say the past 3.5 years for you, the past 4 years, been like a actor's, artist, a creative entity's dream. Like, you've really exploded on the scene and really taken advantage of all of the opportunities you've been given, with this platform that you've created for yourself. What has that been like? Like, do people look at you different? Can you not go to the grocery store anymore? Do your family always bother you? Like, now that you're not little David, or now that you're not little Dee no more, how does what's that?
I'm, I think my life is cool, man. I mean, the big changes are mostly great. Like, it's mostly like I have a house. You know what I'm saying? Like, things that that I never really saw as part of my trajectory, that I didn't actually know were part of the things wrapped up that you could get by being an artist. Like,
Right,
part of my trajectory over the last 3 years, I think if you look at it by itself, assumes a plan. But I didn't have a plan, right? I just sort of kept doing things that I thought were cool. And as the opportunities opened themselves up, I got to be more selective about that. I got to be more intentional about the things I thought were cool. And then I had a team of people helping me to find the things that I thought were cool. But
hmm
sort of sitting and relying on my own taste has proven to be pretty good for me, at like a good barometer of what makes sense to do. But I think most of the change, yes, there is, I get noticed more in public, but also I don't, you know, I don't, I try to change my behavior as little as is required. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still take a regular lift. Like, I don't like hopping out of black cars. I don't like doing the things that draw attention to yourself in public because I find that more people notice you then. So,
right,
like, if people don't expect you to just be walking to the store, so I walk
right,
to the store all the time, and nobody really bothers me.
right,
So I think that I have found to be useful, and I think most of the things I struggle with are sort of what is private and what is public, right? Once you are a different kind of public figure, there's kind of an expectation of access that I don't know that anybody plans to have to navigate. I don't know how much that occurs to maybe for younger folks. I didn't live on social media as a kid, so like
right. Well,
I
young,
don't have,
nothing, right,
yeah, like I don't have that relationship with it where I've already made these choices about what's public and what's private. So I find myself reassessing that in real time every day. Like, actually, this is for me. This ain't for y'all. And actually, and the events of the last few weeks. Who knows when this is airing? But like, um, being in quarantine, and then the Black Lives Matter protests and coming about, and all of the sort of um, pain and fear that's been coming back up in recent days, and all of these things are things that we all have to navigate with how much of that is for the public, and why would I be presenting this for the public? Is that
right,
somehow, am I asking for praise in stating my
right,
opinion? And if that's the case, then why I'm not going to do that, So,
right.
uh, yeah, sometimes I lament the fact that I don't have a particularly good relationship with how to be public facing, because maybe it would be easier as opposed to me always stressing out over it.
Right, right, right. No, that definitely makes sense. That because it's crazy looking at it now. The idea of celebrity, the idea of recognition, the idea of being recognized, has this whole different meaning now. It has this whole different level of pressure that comes along with it. And when I look at everything with because being like the father of sons right now is a very interesting time, you know,
Yeah,
and my my little boys are like they're mine. I don't share my little boys. I don't post pictures of my little boys. If somebody tried to take a picture of my little boys, I slap the camera out their hand like they're mine. They're my
yeah,
little boys. My little
yeah,
boys have never they're mine. You know,
yeah,
I don't know. I'll share experiences I've had with them, just so people can see that we're actual human beings. But at the same time, I don't want their reality messed up with the fictitious reality of social media,
Yeah.
and like just going to school.
Hmm.
I don't want to go to school and be Anthony Mackie's kid.
Right.
I want
Right.
to go to school and be just like the other kids.
Yeah.
So it is very difficult how much what you share, and how far you let people in, because this movement now, this day and age, this reality that we find ourselves in is it's a shared experience. We've all had that gut feeling. We've all had that experience. So that's why I think it's so passionate and poignant now that it's happening, because everyone has a voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my celebrity voice definitely is not worth more than the regular guy's voice who's out there fighting for equality for our people. I can't take that away from them. I don't want to stand on the podium and give some half-assed speech about me being in the Avengers and now the Avengers are here to help. Like that's
Right. Right.
stupid.
Right.
You know.
Right. I agree with you. And then, so what, this, forgive me if this is a loaded question. I just keep thinking about it. Like, what are the ways that you find yourself interacting with the moment? Because I change it every day. And I find a lot of my interactions seem to gear towards just trying to make things better in the actual gigs I have in front of me. Like, looking at going back for next seasons and how can I affect different kinds of representation behind the scenes or in front of the camera or whatever. Like, what are the, I don't know, what do you feel like it is the thing you feel compelled to do that is your participation in this moment?
Well, I think because when Falcon Winter Soldier comes out, I'm the lead of the show.
Right.
When Snowpiercer came out, you're the lead of the show. So we definitely have the power and the ability to, ask those questions. Like, it really bothered me that I've done 7 Marvel movies now. Uh, I've every producer, every director, every stunt person, every costume designer, every PA, every single person has been white.
Mm-hmm.
We've had one black producer. His name was Nate Moore. He produced uh, Black Panther. But then when you do Black Panther, you have a black director, black producer, you have a black costume designer, you have a black stunt choreographer, you have a black, and I'm like, that's more racist than
Hmm.
anything else. Because if you only can hire the black people for the black movie, are you saying they're not good enough when you have a mostly white cast?
Right. Right.
So my big push with Marvel, with everybody, is you know hire the best person for the job. If you look at it now, you know, there's no reason why you can't say, all right, well, I want, even if it means we're going to get the best 2 women, we're going to get the best 2 men, we're going to get the best 2 that, the best 2 this. Fine, I'm
Mm-hmm.
cool with those for the next 10 years, because
Mm-hmm.
it starts to build a new generation of people who can put something on their resume to get them other jobs.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
we got to divvy percentage, divvy it out
Right.
at
I
least for
agree.
10 years. And that's something, as artists, as leading men, that we can go in and push for, and push the envelope. So with Snowpiercer, being on the train, the show is about the inequality, the upper part of the car, the backer part of the rear of the car, the haves and the have-nots. So as a black man playing that role, was that something that came to mind when you read the script? Was that something that you wanted to pay attention to and infuse as you were going into the project?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is part of the learning curve that I'm on, right? So yes, obviously it's a show about class, and that is baked into the show. I think they're mostly due to the same things that you're talking about. The vast majority of straight white males attached to the show at the upper levels, there's a missed connection. Not that it doesn't come across. You cast a black lead, so
Right.
you now this discussion is happening whether you want it to or not, or whether you
Right.
are having it or not, right?
Right.
Um, but there are opportunities that I think that are missed on the show, uh, and things that I end up having to be a gatekeeper for, which should never trickle down to me, simply because you didn't have a diversity of eyes on it, particularly higher level eyes who everyone has to listen to, right? So there have been things that have trickled down to me that I'm just like, I don't think this show is responsible enough for this image that you are trying to present, because I don't think this show has yet figured out a good way to talk about the fact that class and race are inseparable in actuality, right? So if we're pretending, if we are making up a fantasy future where that's not true, you can't have this image. Like, I am uncomfortable with that. And so a large part of my journey at first was being able to identify the fact that I can say those things. But then going forward is about, well, how do we get the conversation to elevate, because it's happening anyway, because the virtue, the nature of my body in the space is causing it to happen. And so what are the ways that we can get Black folks in the writer's room, in the producing department, in all aspects of the production, like you're saying, so that it can be a real discussion.
Melanie, this is ridiculous. No one from first class has ever been charged with a crime.
You should thank her for that. She keeps the borders tight, she keeps the rabble at bay, and she keeps first class above the law. But Mr. Wilford's doing things differently this time.
I think about this in terms of Hambleton too, right? Because that's coming out next week. Like, the film version is coming out soon, and I think that even something like that is, every piece of art is viewed through the lens of the time you were looking at it in, right? And there are things about Hamilton that are so profoundly Obama era. There is such a hopefulness in it, that in this particular moment reads even more maybe revolutionary or maybe fictional, right? Centering brown people at the birth of our economy, that we are all grappling with the fact that it is fundamentally racist right now, is a different thing. Whereas I think when we had a Black president, and in this era where hope was like the centerpiece, the talking point, it felt different. And I don't think it's wrong in any era. It's just that the lens keeps changing. And so, you sort of hope that you are part of something that can continue to be in conversation with the era that it's viewed in. That's how timeless things work, right? And so you want to try and have these conversations in real time when you're making the art,
But you got to have them a year later after it's out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We're behind the eight ball on this. We should be talking about this in the writing room. So,
yeah, that's very, it's very important to have representation at the start of that project, because we, with Alter Carbon, it was the exact same thing. We walked into last season, first season of Alter Carbon to the second season changed drastically, and when they brought in, the cast, they realized 3 of their 4 leads were Black. I remember having a conversation with the writers and some of the producers saying, this is going to bring up it's going to spark a different interest than you had in the first season. So just be prepared for that. And they recognized it, straight away. They realized that, what we were doing was a different show, a different feel, a different steam, a different cachet of show from the first season. So, and they were very open to Renee, Simone, and myself really delving in and saying, what was authentic and what wasn't. Even for the future, that doesn't seem real. And even when Will came on set, him being Asian, he brought a completely different feel to it, a completely different understanding. So it was this, this dance we played every day where everybody was checking for everyone.
That's great.
And that's how it should be in That's how it should be from the conception of the project.
Right,
So then
right.
you don't have to say you're sorry for doing something that everybody knows is stupid except you.
Right, right, right. Correct. And it's great. It's great, and it's so fundamentally baked into your show, right? The idea of the same consciousness moving through different bodies is like it's right there. It's right there. You
Right,
just have to.
right,
You just
right.
have to actually talk about it.
Home again, huzzah. How long has it been? 5 years?
Try 30. Of all the godforsaken rocks we've been to, we're right back where we started.
I thought you swore you'd never return. What compelled you?
Horace Axley compelled me.
And who, pray tell, is Horace Axley?
With Snowpiercer, did they ever, at any point in time, like, did you watch the movie and try to pick up mannerisms, or like when you watch The Matrix, like you could tell everybody first Matrix, that one in the second Matrix, they was like, oh, I'm going to act cool like Neo. Like, was that in your consciousness at all? Did you watch the movie and try to interpret some of that
I
body
watched
language?
it. I watched it right when I read like the very first version of the pilot script that we got. So I was aware of it, and then I read the graphic novels. But I really tried not to do that. I think for me, I didn't want to. I just I am so energetically different than anyone who's done one of the. And also, like Andre Layton doesn't exist in any of the other worlds. So like it was genuinely a person. And like, but I think the mood, like there's a tone of that film that is so specific, and I think the show is different. And so we had to sort of, I don't remember who said this to me at one point. Some director I was working with said that the understanding the understanding the tone of the piece is 80% of the work. And I really believe that in a lot of cases, and it took us a while, I think, to zero it. Even like watching the first season now, like we're a few episodes in, and I was like, oh, there we go. Now we understand what we're making, you know. But it's the film is such an adrenaline shot, you know. And part of the thing that the TV show does is it's still super high action and fast paced, but we get to luxuriate a little bit in story. And because of that, you know, do we ramp up the sort of soapiness a little bit, or like should it all be very grounded and real? Like these are the discussions we're having on set all the time. Like, well, maybe this take I should be a little more cartoonish. Like, is this guy a little more? You know, we were trying to figure it out, and so it's fun for me, like because I was behind the scenes, going like now watching the first season because my friends all want to come over and watch it. I now watching it again, sort of remembering the conversations that we had and watching it sort of come together and figure itself out. TV's a trip, you know. You're just like rehearsing the whole time. You don't ever
The whole time.
you never know what it is.
You never have to get it right. That's what I love about it. It's like
Yeah,
you can mess up as much as you want, and we'll make it right.
love it. Yeah, it's beautiful. That part of it is beautiful. Once you can relax into it, and that's what I'm trying to learn. You know.
So, what you really want to know is, when he was tortured, what Wilford's secrets did he spill? Yeah, I got killers and cannibals and God knows what else up here.
You ever done any like physical work, any stunt work, or is this your first time like having to fight and kick ass?
This is definitely the most I've done. Yeah, I mean, this is in front of the camera for sure. The only stuff I've done. I've done a fair amount of like stage combat-y stuff. I'm really good at falling, so that skill
So
set
that means
has been useful.
you beat up, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and honestly, like I enjoy the scenes where I get beat up so much more than the ones where I have to beat somebody up. Like I actually, I'm just I think I am better at it. It's somehow more believable to watch me get punched than to watch me throw a punch. It's something about me. And then also, I had a hard time, man, going home with some of the ramifications of like the real violent, bloodied scenes. There's some
Oh
scenes in
yeah,
that show where I'd spend all day breaking a bottle over a stunt performer's head, and like
yeah,
that person is, it's breakaway glass, but it's not nothing. And if we do
yeah. It still hurt.
15 or 20 takes for that, like, and you're getting up more slowly, like that, and then I go home with that, it was hard to shake those days.
Right.
Um, but what about you? I mean, you must have been training like crazy. Although you were already an Avenger, you were in shape. You didn't have to, you know what you done.
No, it's funny when I did Captain America, Winter Soldier. That was 2007, 2000, what, 10, 8, 2007, 2008. So
Yeah.
I had learned on that movie what movie shape was as opposed to going to the shape. So ever since then, I'm like, I just want to stay in movie shape because doing all this combat stuff, I can do it. But it's like being a football player. Like football players talk about being in football shape and being in regular shape. And it's not just about having muscle flow. It's really a whole different beast. So
Yeah.
you know, that um that movie taught me so much as far as being movie ready. Like even now, going into the Falcon Winter Soldier, one of the biggest reasons I was so thankful about doing Alter Carbon was because Alter Carbon put me in a position to go right into this show and be in like the best movie shape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if it,
Yeah.
because I don't know how do you guys do you have like a trainer and a nutrition? Do you train a lot while you're shooting?
No, no. I mean, we have a great stunt coordinator, and so he's really helpful. And we do a fair amount of like choreography work and everything like that. But definitely not a nutritionist. Definitely, we also have a really good stunt team, so I could tap out at any point. But I didn't. I did my thing,
You did.
but uh, yeah, everything that they would let me do, I did. But it was a learning curve of yeah, movie shape is a is a different beast, I
So
guess.
what would you say you prefer? Because you've done the music, you've done the television comedy. Now you're doing a television drama. You've done Broadway. Because like to go from Blackish to go to Hamilton to Snowpiercer, Ferdinand to performing music on stage at festivals, like that's a whole different beat. Like I think the first time I saw you was at and I didn't know you was at Afro Pop, and it was you in
Oh
a
yeah,
group
yeah,
performing, and
yeah,
I was like,
tripping, yeah.
this is some black shit. I love this. And then just like seeing you, I love the fact that you're not the guy who just like this is what I do and I'm gonna do this. Like I think Snowpiercer is a breakout, role for you because it's so different than everything else you do. So, which do you prefer? Like, if you can have your druthers for the rest of your career, you can do one type of role and win all kind of awards and like be like the biggest. If you could do one role and become Robert De Niro, what role would it be?
Oh man, I mean, I like the diversity of it. I like to get to do a lot of things, so that's really what I want to do. If I had to choose one thing, I would just make rap songs for the rest of my life. That's easy. That's actually like no contest. I would just do shows and write music.
Really?
If I had to only do one thing. Yeah, I mean, I love acting, but it is for me, for the most part, like the I am the most free when I'm writing music, right? No one's telling me what
Right.
to do, and it's the you just get to explore the most sides of myself when I'm doing that. So the rest of my life is really about trying to figure out how to catch that feeling in all of the rest of the things that I do, right? Where's the freedom, right? Trying to run towards the freedom and the collaboration. Music is so collaborative. And so,
Right.
where are those moments of honest collaboration and freedom where everybody in the room is just trying to make the thing as good as it can be? and it's an easier thing to accomplish in music in a lot of ways, particularly the version, because when you saw me at Afropunk, like that's my band Clipping. Nobody likes that band, so there's no pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, I mean, that's
It's
not true. We have a lot
eccentric.
of like really
It's
devoted.
eccentric.
Right. We have a lot of really devoted fans, but like it doesn't make any money. So why
Right.
would we do anything that wasn't exactly what we wanted to do? Like, why would I take advice from anybody on a thing that makes
Right.
$0 for me? So,
Right.
which is great, which is freeing, and allows us to be the kind of weird that we want to be. And so I'm sort of, that would be the thing I would choose. But in terms of roles, I like that I've had the opportunity to do a bunch of different things, and kind of I like that somehow I have had the good fortune, partially by luck, partially by having a team who understands me, and partially by like just being rigorous about it. I've had the luxury of doing things that are really different, and I want to keep doing that if I'm going to be doing it.
Yeah, I think it's important that people realize, because I agree with you 100%. Like as a young black actor, your career is only as good as your team's level of understanding you. And
Yeah.
I
Ooh,
see it.
bars.
I've I've been in the game, what is 20? I've been in the game 20 years now. This is my 20-year anniversary, and
Wow.
I've seen a lot of actors come. I've seen a lot of actors go, and the one thing that I feel like my team has done completely different is keep my projects interesting and catered to my sensibilities. So wherever I am in my life at that time, my agent or my manager would be like, "Oh, why don't you look at this? I think you would like this. Right now, I think this is something that would speak to you." So I go into it with an understanding of voice, and I go into it passionate. So,
Hmm.
you know, so because you keep mentioning your team, and I agree 100%. I've had the same agent and managing team for 16 years now.
Hmm.
So, how does that work for you? Like when you got the Snowpiercer script, because it's TV, so there's of course you're gonna have a house with a movie wall in it, but
Yeah.
but it's like TV money. But how does that
Yeah.
work as far when you get a script? What was it about Snowpiercer that made you want to play that character of Andre?
It was an interesting time because it was, a moment sort of early post Hambleton. So I had a lot of Hamilton fairy dust on me. Blackish
Mm-hmm.
was out, like Kimmy Schmidt was out. I had done these sort of high profile comedies. Um, and so that fairy dust was on me. Blind Spotting had either
Mm-hmm.
come out or was about to come out. I can't remember. So yeah, so like there was also this. So people were talking to me about a lot of things, and I was getting a lot of TV scripts. It was a moment where I think a lot of people were trying to figure out what I was going to do in the TV space as a lead. So I was getting a lot of those options, um, and I was terrified. Because I hadn't done it before, and these contracts be for 6 seasons, and like, what do you. How am I supposed to know if I'm gonna like something for 6 years? I don't know. Doesn't even exist
Right.
yet. Off a pilot, like
Right.
um, so I would sort of agonize over it, and my team is really good about being patient with me and like making up excuses of why I wasn't taking meetings yet and all kinds of stuff to try
Right.
and give me time to make decisions. And then the ones that I would actually meet on, it then became, and I would have these long conversations with everybody on my team about the people who were attached to the thing and the different, like, what stood to be long lasting and potentially popular, all sorts of business strategy, but also like artistically, what are the merits of this thing, and really like weighing those pros and cons and trying to figure it out. And I don't know, at a certain point I made a choice, and this is the one I made, and I'm happy. I like what I'm doing. Um, so I think that's good, there are also, it's just a trip when you think about the things that you didn't do also,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Definitely.
I had an incredible meeting with with Jordan Peele and Tracy Morgan for The Last OG. You know, that was
Right.
one of the most incredible meetings I've ever had in my life. And
Yeah.
like easily, I definitely left that meeting being like, I should probably do this show because I've never had an experience like this before. It was a trip. Tracy just started improvising the pilot with me. I didn't know what he was doing until we were like 5 minutes in. Like, and it's also like me and Jordan and Tracy sitting on these three stools surrounded by white dudes. Like all the
Right.
producers of the show were just there sitting in a circle watching us talk. I was like, this is such a trip. Like, I don't know. And I left that meeting like, do I have to do this show? Like, is it going to be like that every day? Because if it is, I have to do it. Because that was so weird.
Right.
You know, you want to stretch out like that. So I don't know. That's part of it. Are there things that have come your way that you're like that you wonder about, or or things like that you either didn't do or that you did do at the expense of something else? You know, every decision is saying no
Yeah.
to something else, right? So
Well, my problem is like the past 3.5 years, I've just been busy. You know, this is the
right.
first time I've had vacation thanks Corona. So,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's I tell my agents not if I'm not available for it, don't tell me I was offered the project because then I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna be pissed off that I didn't do it, but I couldn't do this. So, you know, but I'm a firm believer in your career will always be made by other people saying no. You know, like when I was working with Spike Lee, this movie he was doing called She Hate Me came up. And he offered it to Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright said no, and then he offered it to me.
Hey.
You know? So I was like, thanks, Jeffrey. You know, so they're and that movie is kind of like a cult classic now. There's so many
Yeah,
things like that in my career where someone else is saying no gave me the greatest opportunity. You know, when Hurt Locker came up, which was kind of like my big, you know, I was lucky because 8 Mile was my first movie, so it kind of took away the idea of having a career then breaking out because 8 Mile was such
right,
a huge success. But
right.
Hurt Locker was like the big thing after 8 Mile. So I was shooting this movie in North Carolina with this idiot of a director. And instead of 2 months, trust me, I don't use that word lightly. Instead
I
of
got
2 months, it took 7 months to shoot it.
Whew.
So I'm off Hurt Locker. Catherine Bigelow offers me Hurt Locker. I meet with Catherine and I get Hurt Locker. And we push another month and I have to drop out of Hurt Locker.
Whew.
They offered it to another actor. He said no. And they came back to me and said, okay, look, if we wait a month, will you get on the
Wow,
first thing? And I was like, I will walk to Amon Jordan if you wait a month.
wow,
And sure, rap, Hurt
right
Locker
there.
history. You know,
Wow.
it's all. I just wait for people to say no. That used to be the high point of my day.
That's so brilliant, though. That's so beautiful.
That's, I mean, you know, you have to, other people's, you know, no's make your career, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
How long have you two known each other?
You don't actually get to talk at these things, though, do you? I mean, beyond surface bullshit. Or parent talk. There's a lot of that these days.
Y'all should hang out more.
Yeah, well, you know, work. And we're parents. He's downtown with the label, and we're out here.
Well, so in the realm of you've done everything, also that's been the fun part of talking to you is remembering like, oh shoot, that was Anthony. Oh man, like you've done everything. Um, what about Black Mirror though? Because Black Mirror is one of my favorite shows. Your episode of it is unbelievable. Like, what was that like? What's the and again in my wheelhouse, like right there, my sci-fi like sort of
Right, right, right.
wheelhouse. And that show with which like that had one of the ballsiest introductions. The first episode ever of that show was just like.
Amazing.
Right, like broke my brain, and then it sort of kept that up. It like everything was so challenging. Like that show
Yeah.
is always challenging, right? What was that like to work on? How did you why did you say yes to it? Like what's the thing? What was the thing?
Well, every episode of Black Mirror I saw, I loved, and it's literally one of my only shows I've binged every time it comes out. I binge every single time. Bandersnatch I've watched like 17 times with all the
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
choices. So when I got the call, I, I was I was nervous because everyone who does an episode of Black Mirror gives like an Oscar worthy performance. I was really nervous because I know the show works. I know the script's good. I know the acting is going to be good. So if the show sucks, it would be 100% my fault. Like it's nothing different but me. But when I read it, I found it really interesting and something we talked about over the phone with me and the production team was the idea of homosexuality within the Black community. And I think growing up a little Black dude in the South, homosexuality was something that was shunned. It was looked down upon. It was something that was, at a lot of point in time, it was considered a disease or a sin. It was so. When I read the script and when I looked at what they were trying to do, one thing I truly believe is everybody deserves to be loved, and it's not my job to tell you who you deserve to be loved by.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be with this person because they make you feel special, be with that person.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I felt like Black Mirror kind of fell in line with that, the idea of creativity in 2020. Like everything has evolved except love and marriage.
Yeah.
If you go to marriage 100 years ago, it's the same rules, it's the
Right.
same everything.
Right.
Everything has evolved except love and marriage. So in this day and age, with the internet and with Twitter and Instagram and blackpeoplemeet.com and all this, your love, your security in your marriage and your relationship has to evolve. you know so when I read the script, I was really intrigued by the idea of this guy. It's funny because I was married a while ago, and my friends would always joke because it's like, you out with your boys and you have a time, and then your phone rings and it's your wife, and it's like, shit, I gotta go home, y'all. Like you're the kid and your mom's calling, you have to go home. You know,
Right. Right.
don't answer it, don't answer it. Or you'll run outside and you'll be like, hey, babe, no, we're not having fun. We're just sitting here talking. Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, I can stay 30 more minutes? Thanks. Party! So that was something that I always found so interesting, the camaraderie of men being together and just that safety, that just that confidence, that fun that you have when you're with your boys that you don't have when you're with your girl. It's a completely different emotion.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I felt like when I read the script, all of that was kind of in there. It was a great script. It was a great idea and scripted way of looking at the machismo relationship between two men and how could that easily turn into a love affair.
Right. Yeah. 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 It was brilliant. It's a brilliant episode. And you gave an Oscar worthy performance. So you
Not that,
don't feel weird about that.
I'm telling you, every time I see an episode of that show, literally my jaw is on the.
I know.
I've never seen anything like it. I've
Yeah.
never seen anything like it from the first episode till now. It's really amazing, really amazing.
Here we go. Get ready to get your ass kicked, Lance style.
Yeah, Roxette's gonna fuck your head off.
Don't even make sense.
Fuck your head off.
What does that mean?
Round one, fight.
Are there things you miss because you're so busy? Like, do you want to get back to the stage? Do you want it? Like, are there?
It's funny. I used to do a show either Broadway or off Broadway, uh, either once at least once every other year. you know.
Hmm.
But hard because when you're doing a show, your only day off is Monday.
Right.
So, it's hard for me. It's not even so much busy with work. It's just hard to be away from my kids for that.
Yeah.
That's 8 months,
Yeah.
and 6 to 8 months of FaceTime and is,
Yeah.
that's a lot of, that's hard,
No.
especially, you know, with my boys. I would love to get back to the stage. I can't wait till they get old enough to where I can do a show over the summer and they can come
Hmm.
up and just chill over the summer while I do the play.
Yeah.
You um, but it's I would love to do a play. I've actually considered, and what I was working on before good old Corona. I wanted
Hmm.
to start a theater company here in New Orleans.
Yes.
My friends together, and 'cause there's so much of an artist scene here. There's so many musicians, so many actors, so many people who love art and creation here.
Yeah.
Kind of like Philip Seymour Hoffman and all of them did down in East Village with their theater company.
Hmm.
I kind of want to do that, use regular people and professional actors and bring them together to do shows.
Do
I think
that.
this company's called, what is it called, Rattlestick, or what's that company?
Not Labyrinth is what you talking about,
Labyrinth.
or
Yeah,
yeah,
Labyrinth.
yeah,
Yeah, kind of like what they did with Labyrinth. I want to do here. Use that
yeah,
concept, start to create here stories, you know, about New Orleans. And my ultimate goal is to be the Dick Wolf of New Orleans.
yeah. I love that. You definitely do
I'm,
that.
I'm,
I love New Orleans, man. Like that. What an incredible city.
yeah,
Other than Oakland, I used to say this all the time because I went and did. So I periodically had interactions with New Orleans. Like I went the first time when I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. I went for a track meet, and I totally fell in love. It was so, and this is, I couldn't go out anywhere or anything. We were just
right,
running and then and coming home. But like the food that I ate blew my mind, and then like just the vibe, like being in the city
right,
I remembered it, and then maybe 10 years later I went back and was doing like a short run of a show that I was writing with this organization, the Living Word Project. That we came to New Orleans. We had written
yep,
this play, and then we came to New Orleans and performed it at a museum there. Um, and so I got to be there for like 2 weeks as like a 23 year old or something,
right.
and the kinds of trouble I got into that week were like the most magical. I, I was just like, I can't even believe, just like gypsies and vampires and never sleeping and like all,
Right.
just leave the hotel or leave the stage door and just start walking and say
Keep
yes to
going.
everything. It was just like so magic. And so anytime I can get back there, I come back and just try to soak it up. If there's no, if I can get there for like Jazz Fest or something, I've tried to do that. But also just whenever, literally, it's always a party, and it's
Always,
always like the spirit
always.
is so incredible. So
Yeah,
when you
it's
start the theater company, like put me in something. I'm trying to.
I got.
I will spend time in New Orleans anytime you want.
And I have to tell you, look, my ultimate like goal in my career, because like I said, I want to be like Dick Wolf of New Orleans. So I want to create like a cop show in New Orleans where I get to be the fat police sergeant. So I work one day a week. I come out of my office and I go, get in my office. The chief is telling me you solve this case, and then I go back and you never see me again, right? So that's one day a week, right? So think about it. I'm like, that's a no brainer. But my goal until then, I am the best hype man of all time. Like I put Favor Flav to shame how great of a hype. So just saying, if y'all want to do the tour thing, get the music thing going, and you need a hype man,
All
I'm
right,
here.
I
I
got you.
I, I won't audition, but I'm in.
I got you. So Falcon and the Winter Soldier, do you know when that's happening yet? Is there?
Nah, so they we're supposed to be going back as soon as
Right.
everything down. You know, the problem was we were in Europe and everything got crazy in Europe first. So they shut us down, 2 weeks before the US shut down. So
Yeah.
we're, it was really amazing just because I feel like we're the first Marvel uh, show or movie that had budget constraints. And that was
Yeah.
always my it's Marvel. We could shoot forever. And they're like, nah,
Yeah.
you got to be this day, So it was, it was, it was different. It was a very different experience from the rest of the movies, but at the same time, it was a lot of fun. Those movies are like summer camp, and this show, it was no different. It was the same group of people, coming
Wow.
together to make it work, and so the stunt stuff is just everything is just on another level, man. It's
Wow.
every time, every show, every movie, they just push it. They push the envelope so much. So hopefully, knock on wood, we'll be going back soon once this Corona kick is over, and knock out the last little bit of it.
Is there something you say it feels the same to you to work on, but is there something like adapted specifically for the form? Is there anything that's different about the TV show, or is it going to feel like a movie cut up into pieces, or like is it?
Not at all. They're shooting it. I mean, we're shooting it exactly like a movie. I've everybody who's worked on TV before was like, I've never worked on a
Yeah.
TV show like, because even when
Wow.
I shot Carbon, Alter Carbon felt like we were shooting TV, like the way
Right.
in which we were shooting, the number of shots we were getting,
Yeah.
massive. But this, it feels exactly like we're shooting the movie, cutting it up into the show. So instead
Yeah.
of a 2-hour movie, 6 or 8 hour movie.
Wow. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
juiced. I can't wait.